Sorry, clapping in his ears.
We love to clap.
I know.
What up, y'all? Hello, good morning, good afternoon, aloha, buenos dias, wherever you are.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Bridge Between Podcast, Season 2. And as you can see, there is 2 of us because our lovely Erika is giving birth in a few weeks, and she is focusing on being a mother and creating a whole new world for herself. We just celebrated her baby shower and surprise wedding this weekend, and it was one of the most amazing events of my human experience to celebrate love in that way. So.
Honestly, the highlight of 2022 so far. Just
Legit.
so much
For
love.
this decade.
Yeah. So much love, so much light. It was beautiful. Yeah. I'm gonna start crying if I talk about it too much, but it's beautiful.
And as you guys know, I'm Sosa, and this is my lovely soul sister, Reina. And we're back with a little bit of, a lot of it of talking about mental health and spirituality, our journeys through our healing process, being away and being able to still keep communication. So I want to take this time for us to catch up with each other, be transparent of a lot of the transformation that has been taking place and what we have in mind for this new season, which I'm super excited. But I want to start with a couple of shout outs of people here. We're here to support my girl Kelsea with her tribe, with Kelsea Tea. And Reina and I will be sipping on this today. Yes. So we're super excited to share medicine with Kelsea, who is actually from Oahu. And I spent some time with Kelsea and her partner in Kauai in early April for her birthday and their anniversary. So it was so beautiful to get to know Kelsea. And then further from that, what else have we got going on? My jewelry. Can I highlight my jewelry? I'm going to highlight first my bracelet and my necklace. Where are we at over here? Yes, over here. This is Soul Art Studio, an artist located in Kauai, and some photography and modeling I did for her. These beautiful Tahitian pearls, they're super nice.
I love
so
those
if you
pearls.
Definitely go check them out, buy product. One of my close friends does her marketing and social media, and I love them. And now, I also have Tamika. Tamika made these beautiful earrings.
They look like Monstera leaves for our audio listeners.
I love Monstera.
They're so cute.
I love Monstera leaves. So these are from Tamika, and Tamika is a beautiful beater too. She loves brass, obviously, but she does amazing beading, necklaces and just full on pieces that you could wear that with beads. Ooh. And then lastly, on my side for shout outs, I do want to give a shout out to beautiful Dylan on Instagram, she's a local artist in Kauai, from Cali, but lives in Kauai now. So here is my lion, and I also got more Monasteras. I legit love Monasteras. Ferns, and also Mimosa pudica, which is a local plant. So lots of local Hawaiian plants. These are Handpoked too, y'all. So definitely hit her up. She's going to be in New York, I think, next month for a few weeks. Ooh. So if you guys want to get on it or invite her wherever city you want to do that. And hand poking was super interesting. That was my first time doing hand poke.
That's an interesting process.
Yeah, and it was a meditation. I think the arm was totally fine. The tiger or the lion right by the knuckles was really sensitive, but it was all low key. I like a little pain, so it was it was a meditation in itself. It was really dope. It was a great studio. Those are the last of my shout outs before we get caught up in what we're going to talk about today. And Reina.
Yes, I'll be real quick with my shout outs. I just want to give a shout out to Merida over in Long Beach.
That's
Merida
a great
Jewelry.
Necklace.
She's created my 777 necklace, and she also does custom jewelry. So if there's any numbers that you want, like 1996, that's me. You can get that. You know what I mean? Whatever numbers are calling to you, but this was already there. And also she created this beautiful blue lace agate bracelet, and everything is handmade by her. She's a mother, you know what I mean, a wife, a business owner. Her store is on 4th Street in Long Beach. I love her. I'm also there every 4th Friday to read tarot cards. So if you want to get a reading, catch me there every 4th Friday of the month at Merida Jewelry in Long Beach. Yeah.
And you're doing lots of tarot readings nowadays at events.
You know what? I've been kind of out there lately. I've been kind of doing things.
Very out there, actually. Reina has, like, since the last time I was with you, we were like, I think like putting yourself out there as a reader can be very like nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Because it's also like, I have to show this vulnerable part of me, of my gifts. And Reina has done corporate events, social media events, private events for a community, common space. You're doing this Friday.
Yes.
And not even that, people are coming to you to being like, can you come and participate with us? So, and I mean, that's what spirituality is about. Like being on a spiritual path just broadens our experience.
Expands, as I like to say. I love expansion.
And I've seen you do that. But I've also know that you went through a lot of shit in the last couple. We've all been through some things. Yes. But you went through a turning point recently where you almost died.
Yeah, I had my near death experience, I guess people could say. Yeah. Back in February, and I think it was very aligned. It was on February 11th, so it's like 2112022.
We're all about numbers and numerology.
Yeah, we love numbers, if you can tell. But I was suffering from a lot of pain, and it was funny because I was supposed to have a Reiki session with Sosa, and I was like, girl, I cannot, like, I'm in so much pain right now, and I don't know where it's coming from, and I just need to, like, she was like, girl, you gotta figure that out. I'm gonna send you the energy you need, though. So I decided to take myself to the hospital, and I was actually suffering from an ectopic pregnancy, which is when you get the fertilized egg gets stuck in the fallopian tube, and it gets so big that it ruptures, and my right fallopian tube literally ripped to shreds from this egg, and I was internally bleeding, and I thought I was just chilling. Like, I thought I just had cramps, and then I took myself in the hospital, and they're like, no, you're internally bleeding and you could possibly die. We need to get you in surgery.
Emergency
surgery as soon as possible. And although I smile about it because I'm just that type of person when it comes to like really tough shit, like I'm a laugher to keep from crying. But also it was a very powerful and transformational thing that happened to me because it was a realization of how important it is you need to listen to your body. I can't stress that enough, how important it is to listen to your body, your intuition. Like, it speaks to you, it tells you things. When I was in that hospital room and they told me like everything that was going on, it was like so many epiphanies and realizations. It was like in the movies when they do the flashbacks of like your life flashing before your eyes. Like, that was literally what was happening to me in the hospital bed. Like, I was like, oh man, like, this is some, excuse my language, but this is some shit that I got myself into. Yeah. But I was able to, get myself out of it. Thankfully, I, took myself to the hospital when it was necessary. They've definitely said I should have been there sooner. Do not fight the hospital, okay? You guys gotta go. You guys gotta freaking go. It's not my favorite place. I fucking hate it too. But you know what? I went and I'm there. And if I didn't, I could have not been here. Yeah. So it's very important to just listen to yourself and listen to your body and your intuition and everything. And also just like pay attention. It could have been avoided. You know what I mean? It could have been in a more controlled environment, I guess you could say. But I'm very grateful and thankful that it happened. And I know it sounds crazy. Like, how could you be grateful? You almost died. That was intense. Internal bleeding. Yes, it was. But sometimes you need a strong kick in the ass to do the right things that you need to do. And I'm one of those people. I tell Sosa all the time, like, I want spirit to like slap me in the face with things. And
I don't know if I really want to call that in though.
Yeah, no, that's why I learned. You can't call it in. Be careful with what you say, because literally it slapped me in the face and kicked me in the ass. Yeah. A couple times. Yeah. But I've grown so much from it. Now I'm so much more excited to live life. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to do more things, to put myself out there more. Because like when you're on that edge of like being here and not there, and in that realm of like, I was on the bridge between. I was on the bridge between, you guys. And deciding that like I have so much more to give, and I have so much fight in life and like love left in me in this world to show, I like refuse to like let another moment pass by. I'm all getting emotional about it, but
you should get emotional.
yeah, it's
we were emotional. She was telling Erika and us, and I'm over here in Kauai, like, it hit me so hard.
Yeah.
Like, it hit me because I feel you. You're like my sister.
I know.
So I went there and I was like, my body was hurting. And I don't feel like, I don't think we realize like how much of an empath we are and how powerful we are of like also healing. So while I was in that space, I wasn't there for too long though, because I wasn't trying to see her as the victim of the situation.
Yeah.
I was like, where do I want to see Reina? And I went into prayer. I lit my candles. I lit my sage. I walked around. I mean, I'm in a powerful place of Hawaii. So
yes.
I was also letting Erika's pregnant. So I was like, Erika,
I love
don't
you, Erika.
bring this. Yeah, Erika was, oh my God. I was like, don't cry. I was trying not to cry for Erika too, because like, that was like the last thing I want Erika is just to take on all these emotions as well. I mean, you know, when people are going through pregnancy, like the most balanced and happy that they can be, like that's where you want them to go.
Yes.
But that was a big reality check for me as well of like, I'm not gonna say I cared for you more after that, but it was like, oh shit, like she is a huge part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are, and to a lot of other people, like you are a rock in your family, I know, but also in your community, but you don't have to always be. And I feel like that was like a big reminder to self of like, you're taking care of you, filling up your cup first before you go off to doing these things. And I don't know, I do it too. It's just having Virgo aspects, Virgo South Node of like
Virgo and Sagittarius combination.
Yeah, it's always, that's a bad one. But like always, you know, tending to serve and wanting things fast too. And we could be very fire and living in Kauai which is the smallest, one of the oldest islands, I should say. They're saying it's try slow. So my fiery ass had to learn to be very water-like, sidereal water, because I'm like a Scorpio.
Sosa's a whole new woman since she came back from Kauai, guys. I just want to let you know I've changed too, but so is Sosa, okay? Sosa has found she's always had it in her, the zen, you know what I mean? And she's forever spicy. Don't get it twisted. Forever spicy.
Look what I'm wearing.
Yeah, exactly. She's always fierce. She's always fierce. But she's definitely, there's like so much more of like a peace to her. There's like a harmony surrounding her, just a beautiful energy of like, she knows what the fuck she's doing. And she's here to give. So
I just got out of my own way. I feel like that's what it really was. This conversation keeps coming up, but I want to bring up about mental health because that's really what I've been doing in Hawaii. I've been really selfish with my time of just like how I move energy, how I interact with energy. And I'm not talking about just physical. I'm talking about also the spirit realm and how I can feel elements in a different way. All of us can. Some of us are just highly attuned to that. And for me, it was really like realizing that a lot of my anger that I projected, that people obviously knew, like, don't fuck with Sosa. Like everybody knows, like I'm a type.
Sosa, okay?
I'm a type of person. But also, it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like that does turn it off people. And in what I'm actually trying to say, or the message that I'm trying to deliver, people shut down because it's not graceful. So grace has been a big one for me, like studying my gene keys and like going into the Mayan calendar, which has been a big one for me, and just studying sidereal astrology, being in my zone. But going back to anger, for me, anger was actually sadness, and it's how I covered up sadness, and it's how a lot of women act in the world to protect themselves because they feel like they're not safe. And I've had many situations through trauma, through sexual abuse, and just verbal abuse, emotional abuse through men. And women as well, but mostly through men, who have been things that taken me like 10 years to talk about, especially when I was in college. So that I had to like really dissolve the illusion of me not being safe. And in Kauai, you're freaking safe. Yeah. Like you can literally go for a walk at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're good. I mean, of course, depends where you are. Obviously, you got a couple meth heads here and there, which is a whole other story of why there's so many meth heads in Kauai and to begin with. But I worked on dissolving that. There has been situations where I really had to step up and put my boundaries up really strong towards people, and I was labeled a type of way, and I was looked at a type of way. But I'm also okay with that. I feel like being women who want to see a change in the world, not everybody's gonna like us, and not everybody's gonna understand us, and that's okay.
Yeah, and they're gonna project their insecurities and their fears onto us no matter what. So we can't stop doing the work. We can't stop showing up because what, you went through something and you don't want me to go through something, in the way of like egotistical, because it gets real ego. It gets real
it's all
like
ego.
they're like, I'm just trying to protect you. And it's like, but sometimes me making the mistake is how we need to learn to grow, because it's always a minor setback for a major comeback. You know, there's things that just, life comes and goes, and you have to keep going and take the stops, rest when you need it, because rest is a strategy in war. I think about that all the time. So
and keeping it authentic, because I feel like as we grow spiritually, we desire things differently. We need things differently. We need communication to be different. We need the way we dress becomes differently. The way we eat, everything that we do, it becomes so different. So like, yes, this podcast is always going to be about spirituality, period. What our goal is to be that bridge, because we're going to constantly go through certain lessons in life, but we want to be able to make the bridge between that consciousness, that higher consciousness, and the earthing that we're doing. Because that's what a lot of these lessons do, is that they earth us.
Oh yeah,
they check us,
threw me down to the floor in my body.
Yeah, but it doesn't always have to be that way. I feel like because you haven't had your Saturn return yet either, this is actually a good time for it to come in now.
I'm glad it happened now versus later.
And your Saturn return basically is when the planet Saturn goes back to its original degree when you were born, which takes average 29 and a half years, but starts shadow around 28 until 31. And so when that happens, Saturn is known to being like the father energy, the masculine energy that puts boundaries. Like, what are your boundaries? What is authentic to you? And what's not authentic, it will shake it up. Like, I went through a really bad breakup at that time. I went through like a house fire. I moved. It was like all these different things that happened to me because I didn't really listen. I was a very free type of person, still am to a certain extent, but I didn't really have the boundaries because I was always trying to escape my past, not dealing with my past or the pain or the experiences I've had before. And I was always into just escapism, drugs, men, sex, alcohol, food, all the things, travel, even like escapism.
In every sense of the word.
And so now we're learning to be our own anchor, but to be able to anchor heaven on earth through this bridge, through this high level of consciousness. Like last night, I was like preparing for this today because I was like, well, what do I want to bring in? And for me, I'm always like, we always talk very cosmically, like very like, we can talk about Pleiades, we can talk about Lemuria, we can talk about Atlantis. Like there's all these things that we talk about, but we always have a sense of like bringing it back into earth. And so I was watching the Gaia Network yesterday, and it really talked about just like how important it is to be human and how important it is to see one another, like see ourselves, like the change that we want to be. Like there's being in Kauai and now being able to come back in the mainland and be around so many people. I used to be more judgmental, I guess, like, oh, go look at this motherfucker, or like, look at this asshole. Like, but now it's just like, so I mean, because it's true. I mean, there's sometimes I'm like, damn, why do humans have to be assholes? But it's not even that. Like, people don't mean to be mean. Like, people don't mean to be assholes. It's just, we've developed this character or conditioned because of what we experience, because of our culture, because of the people we grew up with, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to dissolve all of that through my path of spirituality that has no limits, that has broadened my whole entire path. And has allowed me to build relationships I've never built before. Also allows me to like find compassion and forgiveness for white people, as it was my first time really living with a lot of white people, specifically white hippies. Because white hippies in Hawaii is a vibe. Like people literally like, I don't see color. And I'm like,
you're like, that's the problem.
This is the wrong person to talk to about this. But it's interesting because I don't back down from those conversations. And I feel like none of us should ever back down from these conversations. But it doesn't have to be an argument. It's to acknowledge there's some ignorance, there is some missing information. Whether they want to see it in its bypass, then that's like on them and how they want to handle it. But, you know, stay in your integrity, like voice what's true to you. And to be a human is to notice all spectrums, the polarity, the light, dark, everything in between. how society has also treated people of color, because I feel like there's a neglect between white hippies and not acknowledging the suppression that people of color, children, women go through. Like, for example, and I caught myself every time I do some fuckery, I always take time to contemplate that and be like, never again, like, or be able to really shut down some of my like trickster ways that I can be. So we were watching Belly at the house. I lived with 12 roommates, by the way. We talked about this last season. I don't live there anymore, but recently. But we had movie night, and that's something I like to do at the house is get people together. So whether it's dancing, eating, music, yoga, like I always made intention to like really fuck with people at the house. So we were watching Belly, and this one dude, he ended up leaving, and I could tell it made him really uncomfortable because Belly is like hella violent. But also shout out to Belly, because that Belly needs an award. Like if you guys haven't watched Belly, you have to. The cinematography, the production, the lighting is fucking amazing. Belly needs some awards. We need to like go back. But also like people who, I'm going off topic, but people who are rating or looking at movies to critique are usually white people. So they're not going to be able to see the fucking great work that Belly is.
That's so true.
Anyways, he left, and then we were going round 2 to watch another movie. And then he goes, how many people are dying in this one? And I'm over here laughing like an asshole, just being like, you can't handle it.
Yeah.
But then I just, you know, and then it kind of hits me too at the same time of like how they try to block off the reality of life is like death happens all the time. And it happens so much in these communities, so much so that, yeah, it does cause this anxiety and this roughness that people have to survive.
Yeah.
And colonization, that's what happened. I mean,
Tough
what
skin,
can you expect in a land that we stole, rape, and killed for? Like, it means you get really deep.
We had to like riot for our rights. Like, what do we expect? Like,
but I need to treat everybody with respect. Obviously, he was very uncomfortable with it. I noticed that I was like, never again. But also, like, I'm not trying to bypass the things that we go through. Let's take a look at it. Let's examine it.
Yes, it's a very fine line between showing what really happens in reality in all aspects, the good, the bad, the ugly, and being like giving it too much attention. Like it's oversaturated. Yeah, glamorizing it or romanticizing it, or like for example, if I see another slave movie come up in theaters, I'm gonna blow some shit up. Like I'm so sick of it. Like you just want, like, it's what 2022. We have no other ideas. Like another. No, I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear it.
And if you're watching this, we want to plant seeds for inspiration to create this change. So like, us coming together and talking about this is also allowing other people to be like, there's other people like us that speak in this way. Like a lot of the times I have sessions with people who are like, I need to find people who are like me, who think like me. And it's just like, it's possible, but go out there to create.
Is seeking you. Yes.
Say it again.
What you seek is seeking you.
Yes.
So don't ever think that if you want something bad enough, it's wanting you too at the same time. And because you're wanting it so bad, the universe is going to literally respond to you in that frequency. Yeah. And you're going to attract these people. You think I just met Sosa, okay? And we not even going to say I just met her. Let me not even say just met. Let me not sound crazy. I know this girl. But I've recently attracted Sosa in the past 5 years of my life, and it's been transformational because I decided, like, you know what? I want to change. I think it was back in 2017, 2016. I was just tired of things looking a certain way. So I started doing the research. How can you change your life? You know, what can you do? And start with yourself. And that's the biggest information that you need to know, is that start with yourself. Like, start with you. Start loving you. Start loving your journey. And you're taking care of your mental health and create things. Like, and it can be like something as simple as you like drawing for fun, doodling. Like, it doesn't have to be so serious. Just make things just to make things. Like, it doesn't have to be, you have to monetize off it. Just create. And that's so healing in that space. And you'll call in more people that want to create with you. And
the person to see it for your funding.
Yeah, like write that screenplay, write that movie, like write that short film, like write that song. You know, there's so much life and so much space for everyone, and there doesn't have to be a competition. And we just want to remind people that that's what's really human, is like making things. That's the most human thing you can do, is like create too. Like create and be emotional about it.
And collaboration. Like, yes, I was just hearing the motorcycle. I feel like being able to collaborate with other people really accelerates things much faster. I think for a long time, I always wanted to do it alone. I always wanted to be like the leader of all things, which I still can lead, and I'm great at leading things. But I've noticed in the last like year and a half, I thrive when I'm working with at least 2 to 3 other people in small groups, no more than 10. Then it gets overwhelming for me. But working in small groups and just collaborating. So like, don't be afraid. I feel like people in LA tend to be like looking at each other like competition.
Yes.
And that's a whole cultural thing that we need to dissolve within itself, because we're all reflections of one another. And yes, we're striving for unity consciousness. Yes, but it takes time. And going back to what you were saying about like self-love, I think there's layers to that. Obviously, we're not saying this is going to happen overnight, but the fact that you can open yourself up to doing that, and also being aware, like awareness is super, super key to realizing what you're alchemizing anyways. What are you bringing balance to forget, like, to begin with? For me, it was believing in myself, trusting myself, and releasing a lot of anger. Like my mom even talks about, like, as a kid, I was so angry. And so I had to backtrack a lot of my inner child healing that I do, and a lot of things that I hold space for other women as well, is like, or people in general, is remembering what happened in childhood. A lot of people don't want to go there, and they're like, oh, it's a long time ago, you know, it's irrelevant, but it is the foundation to the fuckery that we entertain, you know, the men that we attract, the job that we attract, the
women in our lives,
the friendships in our lives, like everything, our diets. So for me, it was being able to separate myself from feeling like I'm just a family member to my root family, and how much more I can give to others, because I love my family, but at times it was very draining for me to show up for them. And I felt like there was nothing left for me, or I was always being pulled left and right to be the middle person somehow. And I'm the youngest out of 3. So it's for me, I have learned boundaries, and I also don't know anybody any excuse. I love my mother. My mother's going through a lot right now, but it was reminding myself, if I don't have the energy to show up for her, to call her in a certain way, I can't do that. I have to like mentally be in that space to call my mom, to have that discussion, or to call my brother, whatever it needs. And also to let it go. I have an older brother. We haven't spoken until like 6 years. I was in Chicago earlier this year, and I reached out to him, didn't respond. And I was like, oh, well, that's the end of that. So I had to like mourn that. Not to say it was just like that. I was actually very emotional, because it triggered actually a lot of the happy moments that I had with that person. And you're just like, man, I wish we were cool. Like we were cool again, and we can like talk about music and like vibe. And it's not like that. And so obviously we can love these people from afar. We should not be feeling guilty of anything, because everybody's going to react and have their own lives. And the older you get with your siblings, they're really going to live their own life. Like they're going to have children, they're going to get married, and it's okay. Like I don't feel like I have to like hold everybody anymore.
Yeah. I'm also the youngest woman. I was going to say, I'm also the youngest woman in my family too. So maybe it's like the youngest woman thing. They're like, oh, you got to take care of everybody.
Or us just being like, no.
Yeah, we need to just say
us just learning these boundaries of self, because it is depleting. And Reina, you're so young too. So it's like,
I know.
You know, you're ahead of the game in a sense of like, you have pushed yourself and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
As I think it's one thing to like notice these things that are imbalanced for you, but to take action, that actually does take time. I don't think everybody's like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, just leave that person. And some people are like, whoa. I can't do that. Yeah. I'm very cutthroat nowadays.
Yeah.
Like if I can't fuck with you, you'll know.
Sosa's a warrior. That's why she's a warrior for like her life and like what she's about.
And it's funny because like we've had this conversation, and you said this to me before, but people in Hawaii don't really know me. So like after living around so many people, I've noticed that people notice me, and they'll be like, you know, you really change the energy of a room, like in a great way. Like you live this stuff up. Like people know when you're home. And also like me doing yoga and taking care of myself, I would get people to do yoga with me. And I'm going on 35 and people were like, you look so much younger. Like, and had this one male, shout out to Pablo, my Costa Rican housemate. He was like, you really take care of yourself. And I was like, I got to. Who's going to do this for me? I'm almost reaching 40 at some point. Like someone's got to do it. But also it's not just that. I mean, part of me taking care of myself is really loving myself, but also really loving my inner child that didn't love herself. There were so many years of like childhood where I like really was disgusted with earth and life and God. You know, like being raised Catholic, I was just like, why is all this suffering? Like, I don't understand the suffering part. And I was so emotional and felt everybody's like emotions because I grew up in a violent addict household. Like violence was like our language. So me being aggressive and responding in that way was normalized. So when certain things would pop off at the house, I would have to really check myself. Have I gone off on people? Absolutely. But the times I have, I've been drinking, and I don't really drink. And it would be like one of those moments where I have like a shot too, especially dark liquor. I can't fuck with dark liquor anymore. Like I can't do it.
That dark liquor gives her energy.
Because it's also it's a spirit in itself. So it's like you start to channel in a different way. And I'm very hypersensitive, and you're on an island, surrounded by water. So it gets to you really quick. And I've seen it happen to a lot of other people. And it's not safe, and a lot of people drink and drive. But anyways, I've had to just know how to pivot. Because it's not to say, like, I'm not going to have a drink here and there or whatever. But if I am not able to pivot when something happens out of nowhere, I'd rather not do it. I'd rather just not drink at all. And same thing with smoke. I really don't share smoke with people, like joints with people like that. I stopped sharing like the house bong that we had because I was like, is this too much energy? I'm going to be reading everybody, and I'm not trying to take everybody home to sleep with me, because that's what happens energetically. You know, you're sharing. So it's not to say to not do substance, do what you need to do. But notice when it's like a handicap or escapism.
Because your self-awareness is so high, you're able to give yourself the radical self-care that you need so that you can show up as the best version of Sosa every day. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why it's so important. Know thyself.
Every day. And that's
know
a key.
Thyself, guys. Like every single day.
We can feel off balance, but the everyday part is a thing. Because it's like, why not wake up every day happy as shit? Like, why not wake up with like a balanced feeling in life? And I would always check myself when that wasn't the case. So like, I'm honestly, the first 10 minutes when you wake up are really important. I would say maybe even the first hour, but the first couple minutes of waking up, if you're feeling a type of way, just stay in bed. Just stay in bed a little longer, and until you find ways to really move that energy when you're just like not feeling like you're trapped in a certain emotional energy, you know. And look for support. There's plenty of support out there.
Yeah, get support where you need it. If you can't find it in your local like friend, family, community group, feel free to go look for therapy or groups, self-help groups, or
get a reading by Reina or me.
Yeah, get a reading by me or Sosa or Erika. You know what I mean? Shout out Erika.
Yeah,
shout out Erika. You know, just those little things that we do for ourselves, like getting a reading, going for a walk, asking yourself in the morning before you go on your phone, before you get up and, you know, get going, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Like, ask yourself, because we ask everybody, how are you? How are you? How are you? But have you asked yourself, how are you? Like, have you talked to you in the mirror and
your
been like,
heart.
your heart, your, you know, your spirit, like, are you feeling okay? Because that's also what I had to learn when you're getting thrown into your body and you're like on deathbed. Like, how are you feeling? Like,
you gotta feel all of it.
Yeah, I'm feeling so many things. So it's like now I have to ask myself all the time, like, do I have the energy for this? Am I capable for this? Am I feeling right for this? And like listening when my body's like, nah, I'm cool right now. I think I want to just chill.
I just realized too when you were talking, like, I guess like people, when we question ourselves like that, we guilt ourselves maybe like I'm being too hard or I'm not doing it right. But I ask you, I think the questioning is the self-awareness, which is the love. Yeah. Because we don't want to stay in the funk. And some people don't want to feel the funk. Yeah. So I know you know this, but I started a book club virtually and in person in Hawai'i, which is still happening. It's Bell Hooks, All About Love. And it is so interesting to me how much both virtual and in person has been triggering for all of us, but how much we can get so stuck and righteous and defend the emotion, I guess the righteousness to be angry or upset about certain things versus opening up ourselves to love.
Stay in that space.
Yeah.
Because it's more comfortable.
I know, but just because it's comfortable doesn't, or just because it's familiar doesn't mean that it's
yeah, you can't grow in the comfort zone. But it's interesting how we, as humans, we're like, no, this is my story and it hurt me like this.
Especially when we talk about love, because that book goes, have you read that book, by the way?
Yes.
I don't know if you read it.
I haven't finished it yet, but I'm in it.
I should have brought it, but I actually gave it to someone who was from France who was visiting, and I was just like, I feel like you should have this book. And I'm definitely going to rebuy a copy, but this is my second time around reading it, and it has opened I highly recommend the book. And to be honest, at first I was really weirded out to like read it out in public, because it was like bold red, all about love, and it was like, oh, this is hella corny.
Yeah.
So I would like turn the book back down, like the cover down, and then I just had a split moment and I was like, no, fuck that, I'm gonna turn it around. And I was out for dinner, and I usually take myself out to dinner when I'm in Kauai and just have my own space.
Take yourself out on dates, y'all. Do you
all the time?
Take yourself out on a date.
I mean Kauai, you can actually really isolate yourself a lot more than mainland, but that book opened up to like what I'm calling in, because I think that love is not just partnership, it's money. Venus rules both money and love, and that's really synchronized. So if I'm not open up to my own blessings in that way, I'm blocking myself. So I took the book too as just a way to open my heart, to keep my heart open while I'm doing the work. Because when we say while we're doing the work is, again, trying to be better humans on earth. Like constantly checking yourself, how you talk to people. Americans have this thing, and I'm first generation American, so I'm not really into the American culture like that. Well. So it gets a little tricky, just because a lot of people think I'm light skinned and automatically in Hawaii like categorize me in a certain way. I had to learn not to take it personal, because I am an indigenous woman. I am light skinned. I probably have some Spaniard in there, definitely have some Japanese in there. But I also have to be true in my integrity and know that I always have kindness in my heart. I can't allow other people's projection really take me off my track, especially when we put ourselves out there and the way that we envision our future, like from the podcast to the things that we're creating and how we hold sessions. People are going to question us. And I feel like it's that saying of like, if you don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. If you don't have haters, you're not popping, you know? So.
And I did. For the book club, I had a little drama of someone who felt she was not invited. And a part of me really was like, yo, if she was my age, I'd put hands on her. I did. I had a real moment.
That's why I love Sosa.
Because she just went on and on about the organization, the group, and me, and to the point where like Pablo came up to me at the end of the night and hugged me. He's like, "I'm so sorry you had to go through that." And I was like, "Damn, you see it? Like you saw what I went through." But people are just gonna be people. I feel like this is the whole thing of like why it is important to be human, is to understand all spectrums of it. And when people are spitting out venom like that, like how to protect yourself energetically. There were certain things that I participated in afterwards when the drama was kind of like wanting to rile up, where like you feed into it, and I could be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go into this fire too. Yeah. And I had to just learn how to release. So I was super emotional afterwards, to being like, this is not mine to carry. Like I just met this person. This is not even about me. This is not about me. Yeah. And she only met me less than a year ago. This isn't about me. And she's a grown ass woman. She's like close to 70.
Yeah, it's crazy how people will just find the littlest thing to just like project all their nonsense and be like, you did this to me.
Well, it's their pain. Yeah. It could be something that happened when they were 4. And they've literally, this is why it's important to really get into what mental health blockages we have, or what we're working towards, and where it seeds from. Because if you get to the bottom of like, why do I feel like everybody's against me? Or why do I feel like my life is cursed? Because we always have that, people of color always have this thing of like, our family's cursed, we're cursed. And like for a long time, I thought we were cursed too, which to a certain extent, we talked about this too this week, like there is earth magic. There is earth magic that can shift energy, but ultimately God, goddess, universe, you work with that power, the power of love also, they can dissolve anything. So there could be a couple of, trips and hoops that you have to go through, that someone projects themselves onto you, which earth magic is not just like candles and herbs, like literally someone speaking ill about you. So this is why it's also being like, let's just keep the peace with all people, like no drama, because that's the last thing you really need is like people to think negatively about you. And I'm learning that too with even the way I respond. So if I come at someone like that, they're always going to be thinking I'm an asshole. Like they're always going to have that image of me. So it's how I want to be perceived and like looked at, and like the energy I want to call in. Like I have a lot of great people who I know pray for me. Like I have, and vice versa. And
there's some people praying for me. Let me tell you.
That's goals in life. Have people praying for you and just really like
all over the United States. Praying for me.
Legit. Even people in Guatemala.
Also, I would say, your family on the other lands, I should say. But also the power of free will. The free will to transmute that cursed energy into an energy that you want it to be. Like, you know what I mean? Because that's energy, you know what I mean? And it's like, if you feel cursed, it's like, how, like, can we move that and transmute it? Because it's like, that's just power. You're feeling power.
And it's not physical.
Yeah, and it's not.
This doesn't mean like you have to like go off on someone or tell them in a certain way. It's going back to the power of spirit, the power of earth, really. Like there was this saying that this guy was saying, this dude on Mateas Estefano, that's his name, on Gaia, love him. But he was talking about how we really, like, earth is the one who actually communicates to us. And we talk about Pleiades and like Orion and like all these beings coming from like all these other places, but really they're the ones communicating with earth. Earth is then communicating with us. So it's like me being in Kauai, and you've been to Hawaii too, so like you are so tapped into earth. Like it changes your life. Someone asked me recently, 100%. Like, are you lonely? And I did not even hesitate, like legit looked at him in the eye and I was like, look at all around me. Look how beautiful Hawaii is. Like, how could I ever feel lonely? Yeah. Because some people associate loneliness with having a physical person there. Yeah,
it's like the plants, the ocean, the sand.
Everything. And even just like my extended family that like the people that I've met and who I've like really like shown up for me, like when I need it, when I'm sick, or when my lock my keys in the car, like whatever I need, because it's a very small town. There's only like 66,000 people in Kauai, so it's like it's very small town type of vibes. But yeah, I'm learning. Kauai is something that's shifting for me. I'm definitely planning to spend more time in California and do some travel on the mainland and grow my career. I feel like I've taken a really hard stop at like career wise and like working for others and really working as an entrepreneur, which I love. Yes. But I'm calling in some new things that I'm really excited for. Which is gonna be great because we're gonna be, you guys are gonna witness all these shifts that are happening here on this podcast. I feel like this season's gonna be a really good season. We're gonna be focused on having more topics like this with men. And men who have opened themselves up to spirit and healing and mental health and awareness. Yes. There's so many names for this, but I feel like we should be aware of how our whole environment in America has been shifting with war and the economy like possibly tanking soon, with like all these things that are shifting. Let's not get caught off guard. Let's not go through like what Reina had to go through in order to get your attention. Like start now. If it's a certain project that you want to work on, like make it a goal, like, 3-4 hours a week or, every other day to spend time and put it on your calendar. I love calendar advice.
She is on Google Calendar, y'all. All that is time. Like, sponsor her. Google Calendar, do you see this?
Sponsor me.
Please sponsor Sosa. She's an advocate.
I really am.
Strong advocate. And I can't deny it. I enjoy it as well. It's got me organized. So.
Organization is super key. Because I'm a Virgo South Node, I master that. Like it is, and if I don't do it, I feel off. I do feel off. So it's just showing up for yourself like you would show up for other people, like you would show up for your job, right? And you would organize and create their calendars and their spreadsheets. Create a spreadsheet for yourself. What are your dream things that you want to do, or what are your goals this week? How do you want to save money? How do you want to work with money? Because a lot of people of color were like illiterate in some of the financial ways of going about life. Because I have immigrant parents, they didn't really teach me a lot. And when it comes to that,
and it's like our parents can only teach us as much as they know. So it's like
exactly
a lot of people, they become parents. They're like, I'm a parent. I'm grown. It don't matter.
Just like that.
I don't. Yeah, just like that. Exactly like that. I'm a parent. I'm grown. I don't need to listen to nothing. I don't need to learn nothing new. And it's like, no, there's so much to learn and grow. And that growing and learning that you do as a parent, it affects your child. They grow with you. It's like you guys are all getting watered at the same time when you guys learn together. And knowledge is something that no one can ever take away from you. So investing in yourself and investing that time to be organized, to figure out like what routine works best for you, like experimenting, that's like the major keys to really living the life that you really want to live. Yeah, success. Yeah.
And you're so wise.
Aw,
you're like, we were at we're wrapping up soon, but we were at brunch and I was like raving about Reina to like Erika's family. I'm like, she is the wisest one I've ever met. Like she'll be just dropping lines and be like, oh shit, like where'd that come from? Like it's just her spirit. I mean, she comes from a very spiritual background, especially from the Philippine side. Yes. Like just hearing a lot of the stories and the ancestral stuff that has come.
Shout out to my family in the Philippines.
Yo,
love you guys.
Yeah, she has like a whole female warrior energy that comes from the Philippines. That you know, it's okay to tap into our ancestors. They can be intense. Even for me, like I had to ask a lot of permission to even work with Reina through her ancestors. Like. There's certain things
they don't play about me.
Yeah,
they do not play about me. They're like, oh, that's my baby right there.
No, legit. All right. Well, I think anything else you want to bring up or chat about?
I guess I just want to say, continue to follow us on The Bridge Between 888. Continue to watch us, like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Anchor, all of the things. Please. Comment. We love to see what you guys are reacting. We love to see topic ideas. We like to see you guys riff off what we have to say. And just overall, thank you for listening and watching.
Yeah, we're so excited to be here. Mahalo, gracias for watching. Bye-bye. We'll see you soon.